How do you want to be remembered? Is it for worldly success, like for achievements? Or rather for how you were as a person, like being kind, being brave, being loving, etc.? With this distinction between resume virtues and eulogy virtues, David Brooks' book, The Road to Character, starts. The resume virtues are the ones you list on your resume, the skills that you bring to the job market and that contribute to external success. The eulogy virtues are deeper. They are the virtues that get talked about at your funeral, the ones that exist at the core of your being, whether you are kind, brave, honest or faithful, what kind of relationships you formed. David Brooks goes on explaining that we are really good in developing our resume virtues. Like, we are really good in developing our career, our external success. At least we are putting a lot of effort and time in those things, right? But we are really bad in knowing how to develop our character. And it starts already in school. Did you got taught that you, like, how to develop your character? Like, I didn't. You probably also not, right? But what we get taught is like how to build our resume, how to build those intellectual skills that brings us something in the job market. Even when we look at YouTube, for example, there are many videos about how to get rich, how to get into this school, how to get into this university, how to get that job. But it's all about those external success. But there's not so much content even on YouTube or at all. Like, there's nothing taught in school how to develop our character. The book The Road to Character is a good starting point for all of us who want to develop their character, who want to develop their inner self. And in the book, it's not at all about those resume virtues, but it's only about those eulogy virtues. Or how David Brooks calls them, the resume virtues are Adam 1 and the eulogy virtues are Adam 2. It's important now when we go on for the next quotes. To nurture your Adam 1 career, it makes sense to cultivate your strengths. To nurture your Adam 2 moral core, it is necessary to confront your weaknesses. Developing our character starts with a mindset shift. Instead of focusing on our strengths, we focus on our weaknesses. And by that we are pretty humble, right? Because we are acknowledging that we have weaknesses, like that we have limitations. And based on that humility, there's built a whole tradition, which David Brooks called the crooked timber tradition. It was a tradition that demanded humility in the face of our own limitations. But it was also a tradition that held that each of us has a power to confront our own weaknesses, tackle our own sins, and that in the course of that confrontation with ourselves, we build character. By successfully confronting sin and weakness, we have the chance to play our role in a great moral drama. We can shoot for something higher than happiness. We have a chance to take advantage of everyday occasions, to build virtue in ourselves and be of service to the world. In The Road to Character, David Brooks talks about many great examples or like stories of people who exemplified always one virtue. I think these are like 9 or 10 stories. And out of them, in the end of the book, he formed a humility code. Those are propositions which are based on the crooked timber tradition. He took all those virtues together and formed this humility code. And that humility code we want now to go through. But before we go through this humility code, I really encourage you, when you're interested in developing your inner self and developing your character, to read the book. It's all about to live a meaningful life, a life full of moral joy, compared to what we nowadays do, to live a life of hedonic pleasure, of hedonic joy, right? David Brooks' point is that the first proposition of this humility code is to live a meaningful life. And it's not necessarily happiness what we are striving for, but meaning. We have limitations and are less perfect than we like to think. These days we adopted the romantic mindset that we are the middle of the universe and perfect. Of course, this leads to selfishness and overconfidence. The crooked timber tradition advocates for humility and to be aware of our limitations. We are able to struggle with ourselves, even if we do something bad. We have the capacity to make it good again. We are both full of weaknesses, but at the same time, we are also full of strengths to overcome them. So this is important to notice, right? It's not just about that we see only our weaknesses, that we see only our bad sides. It's to acknowledge them, but we have also at the same time the capacity to overcome them, to make ourselves better. And this is like the beauty of us humans. In the age of social media, where many tend to boast and make themselves bigger than they are, humility is a forgotten virtue which lets one to attain real greatness. Many of us think we are special and better compared to the people around us. Pride is the opposite of humility. It blinds us from who we really are. This inner struggle, like the inner struggle with ourselves, is the most important struggle we face. It's more important than any external challenge, for example. The question is, Are you willing to accept and confront the struggle? Or are you running away from your own weaknesses? When we accept to confront our inner struggle, we build character in doing so. Every small decision matters. Every decision for the good, let's say for self-control, is engraving itself inside. Every decision for the bad is doing the opposite. The more good we do, like the more little good decisions we do, the more little good actions we do, at some point our inner self changes, right? It gets more robust, it gets more kind. Whatever good we do, it gets more self-disciplined. But the same is also true, the more bad things we do. The more we lie, the more we don't fulfill our promises, the more we are unreliable. Step for step, we turn in the bad direction. Character is built in the long term, until the end of our life, so to speak. We are a work in progress, and our character building is never ending. But we can try every day new to build our character like more and more. Even if our character gets stronger and stronger, we have to be always careful, because a short-term stupidity or like a short-term stupid action can destroy parts of our character. So be always aware to not do something bad. We need some help from the outside, a philosophy that educates us, family or God. When we fight against our own weaknesses, David Brooks argues that this fight is U-shaped. At the bottom of the U, the hardest point or the most difficult point, so to speak, we surrender our crown. We realize that we need help by others. In that moment, gratitude fills us up. Our egos tend to be loud. Let's say they're full of envy or full of jealousy. When we are able to quiet our egos down, admiration is substituting envy, for example. That we don't envy another person, but rather we admire that other person for what this other person did. The world around us is complex and opaque. Be humble, especially intellectually humble, to understand that we sometimes don't know things. And be humble enough to say, I don't know, especially in intellectual questions, because the world is just too complex and we don't always see cause and effect relationships. Wisdom is, quote, knowing how to behave when perfect knowledge is lacking, unquote. Doing work not for the sake of one's own advancement and not even for others or like for the praise of others. Doing the work for the sake of doing the work is the point. How to find your vocation, not looking within, but rather looking, what is life asking from me? Again, right, crooked timber tradition. We don't ask, what do I want from life, but rather, what is life asking from me? What problem is addressed by an activity you intrinsically enjoy? And this maturity is not competitive and not comparable to others. This maturity is only earned by being better than you used to be. It is all about yourself. It is about growing your inner self, and your inner self is not comparable to any other self. It's about you and you. It's about overcoming yourself, overcoming your weaknesses every single day, again and again. This is it for today's video, and I hope you got some good overview of the book The Road to Character by David Brooks, and probably you also got some value out of it. I can really recommend you, as I said before, to read this book, especially if you're interested in character building, like building your inner self. This is not so much talked about, right? No one is talking so much about virtues anymore. No one is talking about anymore how to develop your inner self, how to get strong, because of course we can't show it to anybody else, right? We don't get some applause for it. Trying to get better than we were to be, but better, not self-improvement in the normal sense, what we know from self-help books or something like that, but really like to grow our inner self, to grow our character with virtues. The last question is the first question. How do you want to be remembered? And I would be really interested in your opinion about that topic. Like, what is really important for you? External success, or you want to be remembered as a person, like how you were as a person, or any other way? Please let me know in the comments below if you're interested to share it. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I wish you a fantastic day.